Good afternoon, everybody. This is our first attempt to deliver a video performance of our weekly market summary, and I hope this will be the first of many future efforts to deliver a more interactive base for our reports and the way we share our information and views on the market. Welcome to the first SS Rice News Market Summary, presented to you on the 22nd of September 2023. First, we wanted to show you the focus this week, which brings us back to Bullock, which has remained active after the tender for 300,000 tons revealed 295,000 tons of imports. We follow this week with more Indonesia purchases, which forms an important part of this week's report. This week's summary really looks at Indonesia's active demand, some Malaysian demand, which is also shown as prices have come down this week. As suggested, prices have also softened with some delayed shipments and a softer buying from the Philippines, which has adjusted some of its purchases due to some talks of a reduced import tariff, as well as some focus on current crop arrivals in the Philippines, which could mean that tariff changes will only show in November, and this has resulted in a softer demand. We also wanted to take a look at rising destination market prices as an important element in markets, which will also enhance the viability of fresh demand to accept the current and higher prices, which are a reflection of higher prices that we've seen since the Indian decision on the ban of non-basmati white rice exports in late July, as well as subsequent restrictions that have also seen the addition of a 20% duty on parboiled rice exports. Turning to the first news this week, the Indonesia demand has remained active. We saw the 300,000 tons tender from 2 weeks ago go to 150,000 tons of Thai rice, 50,000 tons of Vietnam rice, and 95,000 tons of Pakistan rice sales. And this was quickly followed this week with 170,000 tons of deals, which saw 80,000 tons from Thailand, another 80,000 tons from Vietnam, and 10,000 tons from Cambodia, and still no real deal from Myanmar. What we have in terms of prices is an average price of $640 to $650 CNF for most of these deals that we've seen over the last 2 weeks. The second news is Malaysian demand has remained active. We have sources in Pakistan suggest that Pakistan has been an active seller at prices of 570 to 580 for 5% white rice at FOB price levels, which is a level that we see slightly lower than current market prices that we see on indications in most markets. But most have also suggested as much as 200,000 tons of Pakistan rice export potential with Malaysia, as Pakistan has looked extremely competitive in the white rice markets as the best priced offer. After Pakistan is a $600 Thai offer in the global markets, which gives you an idea of where we say Vietnam markets have also seen some Malaysian interest, as have Thai markets, because we've seen prices drop from $630 levels to closer to $600 levels this week. So we have seen prices soften. That's been an undercurrent of whatever we have said so far, and a lot of this seems to be pointing us towards the Philippines, where the reduced import tariff talk, as well as, and this is for a limited period, has seemed to have left some impact on markets. There's also some emphasis on current crop arrivals in the Philippines, which suggests that the new tariffs, if there is one, will only come in November or later. And most people are just waiting for details to emerge, with many suppliers and exporters suggesting that deals have been delayed, put aside, and people are waiting, as Philippines is very clearly working from several angles to try and monitor, maintain, and manage domestic price rises that have shown in the market in the last few months. The heightened price of imports does not help, and this is also one of the reasons why the 35% tariff is now being reconsidered, and there's suggestions that this could be down to 10%, but nothing has been confirmed as yet. Next, we wanted to focus on rising destination market prices as improving the viability of the higher prices we've seen in markets, despite the weaker prices that we have seen Indonesia and Malaysia pick up. A good example we see is from our report last week that focused on Indonesia, and we can see the higher prices in domestic IR64 rice prices in the Indonesia, which are close to 13,500 rupiah per kilogram, and this is much higher than the 10,000 and 10,500 rupiah levels that we've seen in the last 2 years. And this makes a good example for how domestic prices are rising, and this is also seen by many as a signal that Indonesia's interest in imports will remain and remains an important element that Indonesia will hope to use to calm prices in the early part of 2024 before elections and the next crop really peaking from March 2024. We see similar signals in Africa, Philippines, and other destination markets. We don't have a list as yet, but we are compiling them right now, as we are looking at old stocks that were bought at a lower price being consumed, and this is lending the way to higher prices as supply at destination markets are tightened, and this is also allowing the higher replacement costs to find more acceptance because the local prices are higher. Next, we wanted to look a little bit at basmati rice, which is not often a part of our reports, but we are hearing talks of a $900 per metric ton minimum export price being discussed between private sector representatives and the government, although the current $1,200 minimum export price has seemed to have led to a weaker demand and some difficulties in exports, especially of blended products, as well as some specialty basmati rice exports like 1509 and other blends that often find their way into the markets for a lower price as compared to the 1,200 minimum export price. This, if agreeable and decided on, would be seen to support India's exports of what is a prized fragrant rice from India. Looking now at key Asian rice markets, a quick summary will show you Thailand. We've already mentioned the 80,000 ton sales to Indonesia. This shows the competitive side of Thailand. At $600 a ton for white rice, 5% this week, this is a very strong in terms of appeal, and the market sees this as an opportunity to raise exports further. Some exporters in Thailand were quick to point out that Thai exports have only remained 2 to 4% higher compared to last year, and this would seem that Thailand can export more, and this combines well with the emphasis on the main crop ahead, some willingness as stockists are very keen to seek liquidity from this, and have all combined to help Thailand show an improved position in the world market. If you look at Thai white rice, 25%, if we see a price of 550 per metric ton, this is actually the best price white rice, 25% in the market, unless you have some cheaper Pakistan offers that are being dangled in front of buyers. Thailand, at least on paper, looks a very strong offering compared to other Asian markets. Pakistan has also been an active seller, and with a record crop expectation, sales to Bullock, sales to Malaysia, and sales to Africa seem to be showing. And Pakistan's domestic rice prices show a Pakistan rupee 150 to 153 per kilogram level, and there are some sellers who seem to be prepared to go short and sell at a lower price than what we show on indication. Local market prices translate to $600 or even $610 per metric ton for a 5% white rice equivalent, but we are hearing of sales at 580 levels, which seems to be aimed at markets that are willing to buy, while exporters seem to feel that a strong supply side in Pakistan should allow prices in Pakistan to be lowered to these levels in the markets ahead. A lot of it depends on Pakistan's arrivals in the future and how these will vis-a-vis look at be balanced out by sales. Key markets are Malaysia, Philippines, and now Indonesia, as well as China, which add to Africa as the important markets that are looking at Pakistan. Next, we look at Vietnam, and like Thailand, Vietnam added 80,000 tons of white rice, 5% sales to the 50,000 tons earlier sold at the tender. And these are a sign that the weaker prices that we've seen in Vietnam that come because of the delayed Philippine sales provide an opportunity for other markets to pick up rice from Vietnam. Vietnam's winter crop is also a small crop, but interesting is that we discovered that the planting of the winter crop has been stronger, but the expected supply from this winter crop at around 2.6 million tons is a 1 million tons less paddy basis to the same crop last year. And also importantly, we are seeing more reports from the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development of a 1 month head start to the winter spring crop for 2024, which is now expected to show arrivals from January 2024. And this is in a market where the farmers look motivated by high prices and look very ready to plant and plant early. The reason for this early planting is also an effort to beat salinity concerns in the Mekong Delta. The weaker Philippines demand is a short-term impact that many see as probably leading to a stronger demand later, probably in November or when buyers see it fit, because many people are still waiting for the news on the lower tariffs from the Philippines, as well as some expectation of Philippines being more interested in allowing its own domestic harvest to be completed before allowing more imports. So this has allowed Viet raw material prices to ease, and we have seen lower prices, and this has translated to new opportunities for Indonesia and, from what we understand, also Malaysian demand. Myanmar remains a steady market and waiting the monsoon crop. Market watchers are still waiting for this restriction where the Myanmar government is monitoring rice export licenses against supply, but so far there has been not much activity or price movements, and buyers are really just waiting for the middle of October before they can look seriously at Myanmar and its offering. So we turn to India, and basically what we have from India is better rains. Okay, as the monsoon has improved in September over a weak October, there has been talk of this lowering of Basmati MEP to $900 from $1,200. And the most important is the mid-October decision on parboiled rice export duties, which are supposed to come to zero. But there's a lot of undercurrent and talk that restrictions might continue or even have some new elements included. So there's a bit of a waiting game happening in India, and India remains the fulcrum of markets in the sense that even with all these restrictions, parboiled rice at $530 to $550 as a number that we are given is a competitive price compared to most anything available in the market out there. More importantly, planting of the Kharif crop is looking positive and looks like a bigger area has been planted compared to 2022, and this supports a steady production expectation for the Kharif crop. Of course, like Vietnam in the slide before, we are not sure what the realities of yield will show us, but for the time being, the numbers look more positive than a week before. Next, we just wanted to look at the overall picture we have drawn for you so far. Markets are softer, prices have decreased, and this is despite the Indonesian buying, the Malaysian interest, and most of this weakness seems to be linked to the Philippines that has left some delayed movement of demand, and this has left markets looking less active. But a less active market seems to have also drawn new buying from Indonesia and Malaysia as buyers. Malaysia is also seen keen looking at Thailand and Vietnam for stocks. And we are very interested to see what Africa-related market demand will look like in the weeks ahead, because the talk is that pre-Christmas demand is already being positioned. There has been some demand from Vietnam as well as from India to back this up, but a lot of people are still waiting for developments in India to show whether there's a more friendly market ahead. So the decisions from India in October remain a very important point for all of us to look at. But the good news is that destination prices seem to be rising, and this seems to allow the higher prices at origin to look more sensible or realistic as replacement costs at destination markets. This is the main thing that we're looking at. And of course, arrivals in Pakistan, a record arrivals in Myanmar, Thailand, and even Vietnam will play an important supply element in the next few weeks and months that will dictate the Q4 of 2023. And as we look into 2024, we have Indonesia's demand, which looks to be back on track with the latest talks of demand. And Indonesia, we expect to remain an important buyer as long as that price in domestic markets remains firm. As soon as Indonesia can show some correction in that by stock releases and other activities we expect in early 2024, this will be an important market to continue watching. This is one of the things that we are looking for as we look at how the supply and demand mix looks like in the weeks ahead. Again, we don't want to say this too many times, but the markets show that India's 2022 decision to add 55 to 65 million tons of free rice into the system has benefited rice markets from 2020 up to 2022. From late 2022, this has slowly been curtailed as India has seen itself remove this subsidized rice from the global market. And this is one of the main reasons why prices have been going up. And with the 2024 elections undercurrent, we do not expect India to make any significant move policy-wise, except to protect its own domestic market ahead of 2024 elections. And add the war in Ukraine, El Nino, and any other weather uncertainties. And probably the proof in this report was Vietnam's higher acres and lower production, which is an example, along with the way India's monsoon has yo-yoed in the last few months. Good rains, bad rains, and then good rains again. It makes one wonder what we have in store in the next 6 months. The markets have to come to grips with the likelihood that India will not do very much for at least the next 9 months up to May or June 2024, as the new elected Indian government will be the one that decides India's exports. At least that's our opinion. And we have buyers from Philippines, Indonesia, Malaysia, and even Bangladesh, all looking at their purchasing and procurement strategies, along with buyers in Africa and Middle East who will need to make decisions, important decisions ahead of Christmas and ahead of the 2024 Eid months to decide on what kind of rice volumes are needed and how these markets will strategize their imports with tariffs, with import policies, even anything to help reduce the inflationary impact. These are the main points that we want to bring to you this week, and we hope you enjoyed this week's report. Thank you very much. Before we complete our report for this week, we just wanted to point out our 19th of October effort in Bangkok that features a very strong panel of speakers and panelists who will deliver an update, just like what we've just shared with you online, but a real opportunity for buyers, sellers, brokers, shipping to meet and discuss what's happening in the rice market. I think a lot has happened since November 2022, since July 2023, and in August 2023. And by the time we meet on the 19th of October, we'll also have a clearer picture of what India will look like post the mid of October, when the zero duty for parboiled rice exports might reveal itself or not. So please join us, visit our website and get a link into our event site, and hope we see you there. Otherwise, we remain focused on the weather and political influences that have dominated the rice market, especially in the last 15 months, to show us a market that looks bullish in stance, but we still look at the weather, we look at how arrivals meet demand, how strong demand is, and whether there's somebody in the market that's going to add that new demand element that's going to light markets even further. Thank you very much, and see you next week.